What is up, sports bettors? It is Matt Modi here with OddsJam, here to give you my favorite DFS plays / player props for Monday Night Football between the Packers and the Rams. So I'm going to be looking at prize picks and underdog fantasy for the DFS plays, and then the rest of the betting markets for specifically player props. We're going to lock in both. Let me move my screen over here so you can see that these last four are prize picks / underdog, and we can get right into it. So the game, obviously, we're going to look at Packers-Rams, which was supposed to be a good game before the season started. Both of these teams stink, and in a funny twist of fate, Baker Mayfield is the starting quarterback for the Rams. Who would have thought of that a year ago, that Baker Mayfield would be starting in December for the Rams, but here we are. And the avenue in which I am finding these profitable player props is using the OddsJam screen. So I love the OddsJam screen. It pulls up for a market. So like right now I have player passing yards. It pulls that up for every single sportsbook and where they price the player prop yardage at, like their main line. So you can use the rest of the sportsbooks to basically identify outliers, right? Like if every sportsbook has something priced one way and we are able to get it the opposite way, that is a profitable player prop. And the perfect example of what I am talking about is where Prize Picks has the Baker Mayfield passing yardage, or the Baker Mayfield and Aaron Rodgers passing yardage prop at, especially Baker Mayfield. Like Baker Mayfield, Prize Picks has it at 178.5. That's incredibly low just in general, but you kind of understand considering he's been there for like less than a week or like less than 2 weeks, and the whole Rams receiving core is hurt. But look at that 178 compared to the rest of the sports books. It's 17 yards lower than what PointsBet, what FoxBet, what BetRivers, and what FanDuel have. It is 11 yards lower than what the OddsJam line has. And this is important because the OddsJam line is pulled from Pinnacle Sportsbook, which is the sharpest sportsbook in the world. So you can use the OddsJam line as kind of a way to set the market, quote unquote, for what a sportsbook should truly be priced at. Well, they have it at 189. Again, 11 yards higher, as does DraftKings. For player props specifically, DraftKings is another sportsbook that we use to kind of set the market. So we basically want to compare the plays that we are taking to the DraftKings and the Pinnacle line to make sure that we're getting outliers to that, which we 100% are. It's a remarkable outlier that PrizePicks has for this Baker Mayfield passing yardage one. Underdog has it at 186. It's not as good of an outlier. It's still lower than the OddsJam line and the DraftKings line, but it's still, it's still lower, but it's not as good of a play as the 178. But if you still wanted to take the over, you could take it on underdog as well. It's obviously the better value on PrizePicks, but you could still take it on underdog, taking him to go over. And I haven't even mentioned this. So OddsJam prices the over at minus 132, the over at minus 101. So not only do they price it 11 yards higher than the PrizePicks one, they also heavily favor it going over, which is just insane. They have the over priced at minus 132, basically them saying, hey, we think that the over-under should be priced at 189, but we think that it's more likely that he hits this over. So we're going to make it more expensive to buy. And we can get that 11 yards lower at PrizePicks or 3 yards lower at underdog. So both of these I think are good. I would take it on both of them. Obviously the PrizePicks one is better. It's good on both. Next up, the Aaron Rodgers one isn't as good of an outlier, even with PrizePicks, right? They have it at 227. We see a couple books have it 5 yards higher at 225, 232. And then we see the OddsJam line and DraftKings have it at 235, so 8 yards higher than what we are getting it at PrizePicks. Still a good play. I would still take his over, but it's not as good as the Baker Mayfield one, as you can see. And then the underdog, I wouldn't touch. They have it at 234, only 1 yard lower. I don't think that's worth it. I wouldn't touch underdog. But I do like the two-leg entry of Baker Mayfield and Aaron Rodgers, both to go over their player passing yardage prop. So that's passing yards. Let's look at receiving. So I want to go to player receiving yards, and same thing. I want to scroll all the way down. I want to look at the Monday Night Football game as soon as this loads. So same thing here. It's pretty much the same logic. You just want to compare the sports books and where they price a play at to the rest of the betting market, right? So we see PrizePicks and underdog here on the far right. So this Christian Watson one is great. Christian Watson over his receiving yardage, 44.5 at PrizePicks, 47.5 at underdog, which isn't as good. Obviously, the 44.5 one is better, but OddsJam prices this at 48.5, so 4 yards higher than the Prize Picks line. And they, so I guess, well, let me back up 1 second. So with yardage as low as like 44 to 48, that's obviously that 4-yard difference is much more impactful than going from 260 to 264, right? So the lower the yards themselves go, the more impactful the gap between the yards becomes. So a 4-yard gap at 44 to 48, that's like a 10%, 12%, 8% difference, something like that, depending on how you view the math. So not only does Pinnacle price it at 48.5, again, they heavily favor it going over. So again, it's a good play on Prize Picks. It's also a good play on underdog. So I got 3 Prize Picks ones for you guys. I got 2 underdog ones for you guys. And that's going to be it for this video. So I definitely recommend tailing these DFS/player prop plays. In terms of player props, one I forgot to mention, I like the Christian Watson over receiving yards as well on FanDuel. You can actually get that for better odds at BetRivers at over 46.5 at -113. Same logic here. Not only does Pinnacle price it higher, but they favor it going over. DraftKings has it at 48.5 as well. So a couple player props for you guys to log in, and that's going to be it. So if you're tailing any of these, comment and let me know. Other than that, enjoy the Monday Night Football game and have a good one.